2 years ago, as a freshman, Kate tried out for the soccer team and caught the eye of a senior on the boys' team.
He saw me at tryouts, and then we started talking, and he just became like a good friend of mine.
But the guy, Brett, wanted to be more than friends.
And I was kind of like no at first because I'd always heard the rumors about, a senior wanting to date a freshman.
Everyone has heard those rumors.
They can push them to whatever they want to do, like sex or whatever they want, drugs, alcohol.
When younger girls are dating older boys, they're going to be more exposed to those risky behaviors and may not have the coping skills to say no at that point in time.
Being with older kids who might drink or have sex, that didn't change how Kate saw herself.
I've always been around that kind of thing, but that doesn't mean I've ever had to do it. The whole peer pressure thing really hasn't affected me much, and he never pushed me to do anything that I didn't want to do. And I've dated guys who have tried to push me to do things that I didn't want to do, but Brett wasn't like that.
The question is, what do you do when someone does try to pressure you? What would you do if someone tried to pressure you to have sex? What would you say? It's in magazines.
Yeah, see, this is trash.
It's on TV. It's all around us. The media makes it look like everyone is having sex. But are they really? Most teens think that the number of sexually active teens is high. In fact, the number of teens having sex is steadily going down. It's now the lowest it's been in years. Still, kids say they feel pressure to have sex. And it's not just the girls.
It's all about popularity. It's all about belonging. It's just like one big competition, one big scoreboard.
All your friends, if they ask you, oh, have you done it with her yet? And you say no, that can make them think less of you.
But is that really a good reason to have sex? A good reason to take risks? Because you can't stand by your own decision and say no? Because you're not strong enough to follow through with what you know is right?
After all, if you can't say no, then in effect you can't really say yes either. If the only response you have to any behavior is, yes, I automatically have to engage in it, then that behavior is not voluntary at all. It's simply, it becomes a reflexive response, and it means nothing.
And apparently more and more boys are thinking for themselves and saying no to sex.
The attitude is starting to become, it's not really a big deal. And I don't really care if my buddies are talking about it and this person's bragging about it. It's really not as much of a big deal because you can get STDs or you can get someone pregnant.
Not wanting to be a teenage father or to get a disease? Who would argue with you if you told them that's why you didn't want to have sex?
And I'm not going to be like these guys. They're saying, sex is good for pleasure and all that. And then when they mess up with a baby,
Young men are paying attention, and they know their friends or buddies or brothers or cousins who have children or who have contracted STDs, and they're aware, and they're starting to pay attention a little bit more than in the past.
And so more guys, like Jess, are learning to say no.
And I just was astonished, and I was like, no, she wasn't the right person for me to lose my virginity with.
And more girls are saying the same thing. And when they say it this clearly, guys listen.
I don't feel like I'm ready, and I don't feel like I am in any kind of relationship with someone that I can have sex with. Like right now, I'm not ready.
I don't want to get pregnant. I'm only 16.
You don't want to mess up your life with AIDS.
Why? Why take the risk?
18-year-olds Zach and Chelsea have been going out for 4 years, and they decided long ago that the risks were too great.
If I had to worry about, getting pregnant, or what if I got pregnant right now, that would completely change everything that I've ever dreamed and hoped.
Even without a baby, the emotions that go along with a sexual relationship are complicated. And life in high school is complicated enough already.
You have school, you have friends, and struggles, and that's just adding something else that you don't need to add. It's hard enough as it is.
So Zach and Chelsea focus on the easier parts of a relationship. The fun, the jokes, just being together.
Our relationship means a lot more when we know that it's not based on physical aspects.
It's nice that, our relationship isn't based on physical, because that's, we don't have to rely on that. We kind of come to terms with, who we really are. It's not disguised by the sexual feeling, I guess, that you get, or the intimacy physically.
Zach and Chelsea are able to talk about their feelings and establish boundaries for their physical relationship.
We kind of sat down together and we discussed it, and we tried to decide, how far is too far in our relationship, just so that we don't overstep any boundaries. Oh, nice. Sometimes we are alone, or we're watching a movie, so it's a lot easier if maybe we both made the commitment that we can help each other, say, no, we're not going to do this, or
keep each other accountable.
Yeah.
It's big.
They're also accountable to other kids at school. They're seniors in a group called Teen Advisors who talk to younger kids about abstinence and staying away from alcohol and drugs.
We just kind of talk about the things that we've learned so far, just because we've had more experience, and just encourage them that there are people out there that aren't having sex and aren't doing drugs, and it's okay if you're not dating, I mean, it's fine if you are, but if you're not, it's not a big deal.
They both say that having made their decision well known helps them to stick by it, because they want to continue setting a good example.
We even have parents come up to us and say, you don't know it, but my kid really looks up to you. And just remember that, So that's definitely something that encourages us.
One of the key pieces of advice Chelsea tells other kids:
I can say it's hard. It's not easy, I know from experience, to stay strong, because you get all caught up and you're not thinking straight. And that's why it's important to make that decision before you're in that situation. But I can honestly say it's hard, but you can do it.
And Zach says there's certain situations that kids can avoid if they think they'll be tempted.
Sometimes you can help being in situations, obviously you're not going to, all of a sudden make out and have sex, when your family's in the same room, or when you're with your friends. Door. So, doing things with other people really helps, not having to get into that situation. If we never discussed it, or if we never knew, we were never honest with each other, I'm sure things would be a lot different, today. But I guess we communicated well.
But they both know when it comes right down to it, it's an individual decision and an individual responsibility.
It's your choice. Just be aware of what the consequences are if you do decide to have sex. If you can't handle them, it's best not to have sex at all.
Kyle learned that lesson 2 years ago. Kyle told her diary and her best friend Laura that she was in love.
I love his mouth. He has the most beautiful lips.
She loved everything about him. So, 2 months after they started going out, they had sex. She thought she was ready.
I wanted to just wait until I was with someone where I wouldn't look back and go, oh.
But it didn't work out the way she planned. Not long after they first had sex, their relationship crumbled. And even though it was her decision to end it, she was still devastated. For teenagers, even for some adults, it is easy to confuse sexual desire with love, but they aren't the same. It's a mistake a lot of kids make.
I really, really want to be accepted and loved and cherished, and I think they often mistake the pleasure that comes from the sexuality with the actual feeling of safety and being wanted and loved and cherished.
Not only wanting to be loved, but wanting to feel mature, feel grown up. And some kids think sex is the way to accomplish that.
We all want to be more mature, and we all want to be seen as older and cooler, especially when you're an adolescent, but it doesn't. I think it's a really immature decision to decide to lose your virginity to make someone else happy.
But now she's 2 years older and a whole lot wiser.
I'm a lot more intelligent when it comes to relationship choices now. I think I am I?
Yes.
Okay.
So many kids have learned from past experience and have made a conscious decision not to repeat their mistakes. They know that just because you've had sex once doesn't mean you can't say no later.
For those kids who have had sex and they see the negative outcomes and the negative effects that it's had, I mean, just because they do that doesn't mean that it's too late to stop. I wish that more girls could understand the power that they have over their bodies to say no if they feel that they're not ready for it. I think that if you make a wrong decision, then you go back and you say, okay, well look, where do I want my life to go? And make the choices that will make it go where you want it to go.
I started dating around 14. From there, I dated around 30 by the time I was 15, and then I'm 16 right now, so I really don't know. I just lost count. There were so many of them.
Angel was popular. He had a lot of girlfriends. He was the guy every boy wanted to be. He says, in time, he started to question the rules. He started thinking about what he was doing and why.
I kind of felt, what is the point? Am I just doing this because I want to be, like popular and stuff?
He started to understand that having sex just to be cool wasn't for him or the girls.
It's gonna end up, like every single relationship in high school, it's gonna end up the same way, and someone's gonna get hurt. And I want to find someone. Eventually, somewhere down the road, I will find that one person. I will find that one person I can relate to, I can live with, I can, share and stuff, not just some casual whoever,
So now, he does what he wants, not what other people expect him to do.
There's a lot of women always asking me, are you with anyone? And I just tell them no, but I prefer to be single right now. When I say right now, I mean I want to be single for quite a while.
Not many guys are willing to quit going out with girls altogether, but there are ways to lessen the pressure to have sex and just enjoy time with each other. One is going out in a group.
We didn't have group dates. We didn't do that when I was a kid, and I wish we had. It allows them a transition period into dating individuals. And everybody's safe. Nobody's going to do anything that they might feel uncomfortable doing, be pressured doing, or feel regretful for doing, no matter what it is.
These kids agree.
It's having fun, it's like a bunch of people together and you can just be yourselves and do ridiculous things.
And then if you don't know what to say, or you you want to go home or something, you can get your friends to help you.
And focusing on all the other things going on in your life makes it easier to keep sex in perspective.
If you keep yourself busy and focused on other things, you really won't have to think about sex.
Sports, that keeps me out of trouble.
I go outside and play basketball or something, and then I just keep my eye on that.
And ultimately, everyone has to be strong enough and smart enough to be responsible for themselves.
It's just really discipline. You gotta have real self-discipline and gotta just think before you do any kind of actions.
And we're all human. We all have that desire, but I don't think it's a matter of wanting to have sex. It's the commitment that we've made to not have sex.
Right now, it's a lot of pressure to teenagers or kids telling them that they need to have sex.
It's hard to say no.
But more teens are saying no because they're thinking about the risks.
I think there is a lot of fear for a lot of young men, and the rise of a lot of other STDs such as syphilis and gonorrhea. You have a lot of young men paying a little more attention to whether they should be sexually active or not.
If you got a goal like I do, trying to do something in your life, you'll step back.
There are so many aspects of it. There's so many different things involved, emotionally and physically, and it can just be so many bad things can result from it. You can get diseases, or you can get pregnant, or or you can just get emotionally involved with a person that maybe you shouldn't have gone down that road with to begin with. And I think it's not really worth the risk.
Kate knew the risk wasn't worth it when a new guy asked her out.
The only thing he was interested in was something intimate. He didn't care about my feelings or who I was or even what my middle name was. He just wanted one thing, and I knew.
So she made it perfectly clear to him that she wasn't interested, and he left her alone. When you're in a situation like that, Being direct and honest is always a good approach. Kate's new boyfriend respects the fact that she's strong and stands up for herself. And he's interested in her for who she is.
If I go over the summary in the back, does that help on the test? He's smart and he's nice and I don't know, he's not crazy like some boys, so he's a lot better of a guy than a lot that I've dated, so.
There are certain skills that are required in the course of growing up. You have to learn how to be in a relationship. You have to learn how to manage a relationship, and particularly you have to learn how to manage an intimate relationship. These are not easy things to do.
Not easy at all, but being able to talk freely makes it easier to choose abstinence.
I think when kids make that decision, it shows an incredible amount of maturity on their part. To be thinking that far ahead, to realize that maybe this is not the right time, that they're not in the best mindset, they haven't experienced everything they can, and they're not wise enough to make a good decision. So to wait, and I think it's just a really good decision, and it shows a lot of willpower.
What advice would you give a friend on how to abstain from sex?